Greetings and welcome back to Game Talk, although it's more sort of gaming news. Just going to bring to your attention some small tidbits of information that were recently published on Rocket Chainsaw. If you don't know Rocket Chainsaw, by the way, I suggest you check it out. They're quite good. They're gaming guys, a lot of information about Mass Effect based in the penal colony. And yeah, so they published something about 2 days ago. No, well, they're several hours ahead of me, actually 9 or 10, depending where they're located. So they published something today. So all the information I'm about to mention is apparently from verified sources, but I'll just quote what they're saying. Information comes from verified sources, people in position to know. The information, however, has not been seen firsthand personally by any member of Rocket Chainsaw. So even if we believe what we've been told, we cannot outright confirm its legitimacy. Same thing with accuracy. Our sources stress that the information passed on is based on a old prototype of the game. Our sources were unwilling to comment to the information being perfectly accurate at the time of writing, and may have undergone changes that has made some of this information obsolete. For these reasons, we strongly encourage our readers to interpret this report as a rumor, at least until we can verify the information firsthand for ourselves, or until the game is formally revealed. We'd also like to reiterate that much of the information is obvious and predictable, expected by fans following the series, so don't expect major bombshells. Still, we'd like to share what we've learned. So, on to the points they mention. Now, point number 1 on Rocket Chainsaw Penal Colony website. Mass Effect 4 is not called Mass Effect 4, but Mass Effect. Subtitle. Representatives at BioWare have implied as much, but we've been told that indeed Montreal's Mass Effect does not use the title Mass Effect 4. It is currently operating under a subtitle name, which intends to carry across to the commercial build. The subtitles will embody the game's major themes. 2. Mass Effect 4 is third person. Well, this might seem obvious, but we've included it as more an interesting tidbit on the developmental process. BioWare has in the past experimented with different camera perspectives for all 3 of the mainline Mass Effect trilogy games, but not always locking in third person from the very beginning. While they've too experimented with Mass Effect 4, the decision has been made to play in third person similarly to the original trilogy. 3. Multiplayer returns, a no-brainer. We've been told that Mass Effect 3's multiplayer was a surprising success for EA, internal buzz very positive. Multiplayer is locked in to return for Mass Effect 4. We're unable to verify if the mode has changed or if it's a similar co-op arena mode to Mass Effect 3. Now, I want to pause now and state that, I mean, we've all known that multiplayer was I'd say a huge success, considering it was just a random attempt at something, and that in actuality not too many resources were poured into it, relatively speaking. They did what they could given the resources that they had, and there were a lot of problems and a lot of bugs, and the Horde mode got old after a while, but even so it was very fun. So one can only hope that they're going to really build upon that, and EA is going to give them more resources to build upon that. I think my suspicion, this is just my speculation, is that EA made a killing in microtransactions via multiplayer. So we'll see. But my hopes, Horde mode plus, I mean, add multiple other modes that don't just involve killing lots of enemies. And other than that, the concept itself is sound, the classes and the different weapons. Although once again, something that was lost in Mass Effect 3 were weapon types. Some tend to be better for armor, other shields. You know, give each weapon a special feel. That's lacking. It was certainly lacking, totally lacking in the first game. They did a good job of that in Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 3 was kind of regressive in that regard, and so that's my hope for Mass Effect multiplayer. In fact, I'm more hopeful for Mass Effect multiplayer than I am for single player. Single player is kind of curious indifference. Multiplayer, I'll probably get Mass Effect, assuming I'm still alive by then, just for the multiplayer. Moving on, point number 4, exploration is a major theme. Here's a good one. Mass Effect 4 will focus on many things, but exploration is apparently the core focus of both the gameplay and the narrative. This is a core theme that is driving the overall design direction of the new series at Montreal. Once again, not a big surprise. 5. New races will appear. Yep, we've got confirmation this game will not be restricted to the usual human, Asari, Turian, and so on. Tied in with the prior point, Mass Effect 4 will introduce new species, multiple, ! That play major roles in narrative and overall direction. Other species do return, though we're unable to confirm if any have been removed or downscaled in significance. So a while back, BioWare had some poll to ask if you had to get rid of some races, which would they be? There was a strong intimation contained within that survey, or rather the poll, I think it was, that this might obviously means possibly more races, but perhaps the protagonist, the player character, could be a race other than a human being. That remains to be seen, but it seems strongly alluded to thus far. Sequel to the trilogy is likely. That's very strange, huh? Unfortunately, our sources would not confirm exactly when Mass Effect 4 takes place in the canon. That is, if there is canon. That being said, we were stressed that all signs point to this being a forward-moving continuation of the franchise. As BioWare has said many times before, we've been told that all things Commander Shepard trilogy will not be continued in the game. The trilogy is over, and this is something new. That being said, the implication is that the narrative is set canonically post-Mass Effect 3. What does that mean for the multiple endings? We don't know. Oddly, we've been told that flashback-like sequences to franchise lore canonical events are not out of the question. Well, my commentary now. It seems the only real option is a reboot that's reasonably far in the future, given the just abomination of the Mass Effect 3 ending, and it, as you know, as Smud Boys put it quite well. Vive le nihilisme. He didn't say that. He said "Viva la nihilism." Well, doesn't really make sense in English, but long live the nihilism. I mean, that's effectively what Mass Effect 3's ending just destroyed everything. So there's not really anything left. So there'll just have to be some sort of reboot, and who knows? Not that revealing, but flashbacks. What kind of flashbacks? A statue of Shepard? Who knows? 7. Next-gen focus. Some are worried that, like Dragon Age Inquisition, Montreal's Mass Effect 4 would be a cross-generation title. This is untrue. At the time of writing, Mass Effect 4 is being built on Frostbite 3 exclusively for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. And this is being done in order for the core design to flourish on next-generation hardware and not be held back by previous generation limitations. While this does not rule out a rough last-generation downport later on, we've been told there is currently no intention to do so. Mass Effect 4 is fully next-gen. And 8, PAX leak unconfirmed but likely. We couldn't help ourselves talking with sources. We had to ask about the reputed PAX leak, which claimed Mass Effect 4 would feature a focus on exploring new worlds, 2 new species, deep customization, and so on. Was the words of a madman or a legitimate leak? Our sources were coy and refused to commit one way or the other, but didn't emphasize that the leak seemed believable. Take that however you wish. And that's it. And that's it for me reading off it as well. So, how much newness did we get there? Not a whole lot. However, interesting that very likely there'll be new races. My suspicion ultimately that it will take place outside of the galaxy that the Mass Effect trilogy took place in. With so many galaxies in the universe, it could be easily done. It remains to be seen exactly what. But there you have it, folks. Until the next time, may the gods watch over you. Bye-bye.